Welcome to another episode of Mr. Schoolcraft Speaks. Today I want to be looking at a problem for evolution. That problem is living fossils. Living fossils are what we call animals that have a fossil record that supposedly dates back millions and hundreds of millions of years. So if an animal is alive today and there is a fossil, a very, very, very old fossil for that animal, it's considered a living fossil. What is the problem of having a fossil that is dated millions and hundreds of millions of years old for a species that exists today? Well, let's look at some living fossils and find out. When we look over at evolution.berkeley.edu, we find this aspect of the theory of evolution called the Cambrian Explosion. From about 570 to 530 million years ago, an evolutionary burst of life forms occurred, often referred to as the Cambrian Explosion. This marks an important point in the history of life on Earth, as most of the major lineages of animals got their starts during the Cambrian period and have been evolving ever since. If we wound the clock back a little more than a half a billion years to the Cambrian, we would find that life then was different from life today. All life was aquatic, most life was relatively small, and many animals had unusual body layouts. So if we go back 530 or so million years ago, we encounter life far different than it is today. A simplicity that evolved over millions and hundreds of millions of years to the complexity that we have today. All right, well, let's look at a living fossil then. This is from livescience.com. This article says, oldest known jellyfish fossils found. Oldest known jellyfish fossils found. The oldest known fossils of jellyfish have been found in rocks in Utah that are more than 500 million years old, a new study reports. So these fossils of jellyfish are more than 500 million years old. Means that they date back to the beginning, the Cambrian Explosion. Well, that creates a problem. What problem does that create? Well, let's look at this part under the picture. So here's the fossil and here is the living fossil. Fossil evidence of jellyfish dates back to the Cambrian period 500 million years ago. This fossil jellyfish shows similarity to the modern jellyfish, Conina. It was one of 4 different types of jellyfish dated back to the Cambrian by researchers in 2007. These ancient jellyfish showed the same complexity as modern jellyfish. The fossil shows the same complexity as modern jellyfish. The complexity of the jellyfish has not changed according to the fossil record in over 500 million years. Over 500 million years. That means when these jellyfish came into existence, they remained the same as they are today. That's profound. That matches the Bible account that God created creatures that are fundamentally the same as He created them to be. And this argues against the theory of evolution that says in the course of 500 million years, an animal is going to change from simplicity to complexity. That did not occur according to the fossil record for jellyfish. This is not the only living fossil. If you Google living fossils, you can find a number of sites. I picked this one because it's a attractive site called treehugger.com. Here are 16 animals that are living fossils. That is, a living fossil, it says here, is an organism that has retained the same form over millions of years. So the Komodo dragon is not different from its fossil record of millions of years. The sandhill crane has not changed from its fossil record, or the aardvark, the red panda, the tuatara, the nautilus. And notice the nautilus, its ancient fossil records date back 500 million years, just like the jellyfish, showing no what we call macroevolution in over 500 million years. Macroevolution is one species changing into another species, which is what the theory of evolution holds. Microevolution is a species showing change and variety within that species, not transforming into a separate type of animal altogether. Christians hold to microevolution. You can witness microevolution today, but macroevolution is from the theory of evolution, and the fossil record argues against it in the cases of the jellyfish and the nautilus and all these other living fossils. The purple frog is unchanged from its fossil records, which have been dated 120 million years old. The platypus is unchanged from its fossil record, dated between 100 and 146 million years old. The hagfish and the hoatzin and the koala and the pig-nosed turtle and the horseshoe crab. Look at this horseshoe crab, unchanged according to the fossil records for 450 million years. The goblin shark resembles its fossil records in the elephant shrew and crocodiles. Living fossils show no evolutionary change for millions of years for these creatures. Now, there are some rebuttals by evolutionists, and they are pretty weak because they are pretty troubled by the fact that fossils show no proof of evolution for hundreds of millions of years. How do they rebut this? They say, well, for instance, a crocodile may have evolved back into a previous form. The fossil records show that crocodiles are once again now in modern times like they were hundreds of millions of years ago, but in between that time they may have evolved into something else and then evolved back into crocodiles and then evolved into something else but then evolved back into crocodiles. And that's a pretty bizarre twist to the theory of evolution. Another thing that evolutionists say is, if we could get the DNA from those fossils, which we can't, but if we could, we would look at the DNA and compare them to the DNA today and see there is a vast difference between these creatures. They look alike, but they're not alike. They're not alike at all. But there is no DNA support for this. What do the fossil records show? Fossil records show that when they came into existence, these animals have not changed in their history. That's something to consider as you decide where you take your stand on the theory of evolution. I want to thank you for listening to this episode of Mr. Schoolcraft Speaks.